Hi, good night everyone. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe, and I am here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. So if you have a question that you would like to ask, go ahead and put your questions in the comments now so that I can go ahead and answer those questions. So I'm going to formally introduce myself while your questions come in. Okay, so Maurice Lifestyle, the office is located in Boca Raton, Florida. I also meet my clients in downtown Fort Lauderdale in Florida. However, keep in mind that as an immigration attorney, I'm not limited by borders or state lines. I represent clients in all 50 states all around the country because we do have to work with the USCIS offices around the country and US embassies around the globe. So I can help you no matter where you are, basically. If you'd like to schedule a consultation or you'd like assistance, further assistance, personalized assistance, you can go to the link in my bio where you'll see a contact form you can complete. You can also go ahead and call the number. Right now, there's an after hours receptionist who is available to take your calls. So go ahead, put your questions in the comments because I'm here to answer your immigration questions. I'm U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe, and I help clients to get their green cards and status in the United States. So if you have a question about coming to the United States, living and working in the United States, go ahead, take advantage of me, an immigration attorney, being here to answer your questions tonight. So I usually come with a topic to talk about, and so I'm going to be talking about how to fix your immigration status if you're in the United States. Now, there are multiple ways to do this, but I'm going to talk about a few tonight. But keep in mind that I am giving you valuable information, but I'm also here primarily to answer your questions. And so as soon as your questions start to come in, I'm going to stop talking about my topic to answer your questions. So how to fix your status in the United States. First of all, what does that mean? Hi there, Sandeep. It's nice to see you. So what that means is that if you are here, you came in with a visa and you overstayed that visa, or even if you cross the border without permission, meaning you didn't go through the airport, you came in by sneaking across the border, for example, or coming in by boat, then how it's difficult to jump from being undocumented to actually getting status in the United States. Many people don't know where to start. They don't know the solution to their problem. And so I want to tell you a few ways that you could possibly fix your status and go on to get the green card, even though you came in. So Maurice Lifestyle, a voluntary surrender my green card. So if you voluntarily surrendered your green card, then that would mean that you gave up your permanent residence. Can the court revert this? So I don't know what your situation is, and it really depends on what's going on with your situation. Now, if you voluntarily surrendered your green card, then the question is, why is it even in the court in the first place? What type of court is it? Maurice, your situation sounds a little more complex, so definitely call, schedule a consultation if it's a problem that you're dealing with right now. So Maurice, you can go ahead and call and schedule. So I don't give legal advice by email. I only do it in person. So if you would like to schedule a consultation, you are free to do so. So keep those questions coming because I'm here to answer your immigration question. So now, I was talking about how to fix your status in the United States. If you came into the country without status, or you're welcome, Maurice. So you came into the country without status, meaning you crossed the border without permission, or even if you came in with a visa and you overstayed that visa and you're now out of status, how do you jump from that to getting a green card? So one way, the first thing, and you'll see it in my questions time and time again, is you can fix your status through certain qualifying family members. those family members. So for example, you could fix your status if you're the immediate relative of a U.S. citizen. That means you're the spouse of a U.S. citizen, the parent of a U.S. citizen who is over 21 and over, or you are the son or daughter of a U.S. citizen who is under 21 and unmarried. If you fall within this category, there likely is a way that you can fix your status. Now, there are two ways that you could fix your status if you do have this relationship with a qualifying relative. The first is if your U.S. citizen relative applies for you to get the green card. Now, for them to be able to apply for you to get the green card and for you to stay in the United States, you would have to show that you came into the country with a visa. Hi there, Angelindra, it's nice to see you. Hi there, Jay Hind, it's nice to see you. Thanks for saying. Smith, so no, unfortunately, siblings. Now, I'm going to tell you another way that you could possibly do it through siblings. But the way I'm talking with immediate relatives to stay in the United States and apply for your green card, you'd have to be the immediate relative of a U.S. citizen. So that means you're the spouse of a U.S. citizen, the parent of a U.S. citizen who is 21 and over, or the son or daughter of a U.S. citizen who is under 21 and unmarried. So, and very important here, and you came into the country with a permissible visa that allows you to stay here. Even if you overstayed that visa, even if you're out of status, you must show that you came into the country with permission. You were paroled in, you came in with a visa, you came in with permission. If you came into, even if you're the immediate relative of a U.S. citizen and you cross the border without permission, you would not qualify to apply for the green card while being in the United States. I will touch on another topic where you would be able to fix your status though if you came into the country without permission. That means maybe snuck across the border, or you just cross the border without inspection. I'm going to tell you another way tonight. But right now I'm focusing on how do you stay in the United States and apply for the green card at the same time. If you came into the country but you fell out of status, came into the country with a visa but you overstayed and now you're out of status. Being the immediate relative of a U.S. citizen is one way to fix your status in this case, because they don't use that overstay against you. It's basically automatically forgiven in the case that you're the immediate relative of a U.S. citizen. Now, even if you do have these relatives, but here's the thing: here's another category where you can stay in the United States, apply for the green card. Even if you're out of status, even if you cross the border without permission. So, Stocky95, yes, I am a Black attorney. I do know other Black immigration attorneys. So yes, there are not that many of us, but yes, I do know other Black attorneys. So now, here's another category where you can stay in the United States, apply for your green card, even if you cross the border without permission, even if you came with a visa but you overstayed. Now, if you came in and you have a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident, so now this includes a green card holder, spouse. If you're under 25 and you have a green card holder or a U.S. citizen, parent, or you have a citizen, son or daughter who is over 21, this is the most important part, and they're mistreating you in some way, either emotionally, it could be emotionally or physically. Physical abuse is not required, but it has to be some sort of mistreatment. So it could be emotional, verbal, financial even. If they are mistreating you in those ways, some hints of abuse or mistreatment is they haven't applied for you. They constantly Or if they've applied for you, they're constantly threatening to cancel your paperwork if you don't do what they say, or they say that you have to do ABC before they even think about applying for you. And sometimes they don't even threaten your immigration status. They don't make a move to apply for you and treat you badly. In cases like this, you could possibly qualify for what's called the VAWA green card. You could apply for the green card on your own. And this is without the need to have this relative. So I'm going to list the relatives again. It's going to be a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident, spouse, U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident, parent if you're under 25, or a U.S. citizen, son or daughter who's 21 and up. Now keep in mind, if that son or daughter was mistreating you before they turned 18 and it continued onwards into after they turned 21, then you can apply. My husband is a U.S. citizen. Which visas he have to put in for me to go to New York? So for your husband, now they don't have any control over whether you get a visa if you're talking about a visitor's visa. However, if he applies for you to get an immigrant visa based on the marriage, then you would be applying eventually for permanent residence. And I believe I saw here, so I really appreciate your live Q&As because I'm interested in immigration law. Go for it, the Jazri. I encourage you to go and do it. If this is your passion, this is what you want to pursue, go for it, definitely. Let me see. What if your mom makes you overstay, then starts treating you bad and don't want to put in the papers? Stocky 95, thank you for that. This is an exact example of a VAWA situation. If they're treating you badly, your mom convinced you to stay. I don't know if she's a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident, but on top of that, if she's treating you badly, mistreating you, and it doesn't have to be physically, it could be in other ways as well, then you should definitely seek legal advice. That's the first thing. My rule of thumb is, if you're being mistreated, you need your green card, and you have that qualifying relative, you need to look at that to fix the papers for yourself, if your mom, especially if she's not going to be doing it. So Lisa Persad, or sponsor you. So I don't get into specific forms, Lisa Persad, but they would file the relevant forms to be able to get you an immigrant visa. So usually you'd file the spouse, so your husband would file the petition for you. It would go through the approval process and then eventually be sent to the interview for you to attend the interview. Tug 1981, it's nice to see you. How can my sister-in-law get a working visa? She's an RN in Liberia, now in the Netherlands. So the first thing she'll have to do is find an employer who is willing to sponsor her as an RN in the United States, and then go through the visa process. The two most important aspects of the employment-based immigration process is, do you have an employer? What are the needs of the employer, and what are your qualifications? And then, will that fit within a type of visa? My husband is a green card holder, and when it was filed, applied for a change of status. So now, if your spouse is a green card holder and you are out of status, really, Campbell, then it is no, I don't want to say here, unless your spouse is mistreating you, you're being mistreated, you likely would not qualify for adjustment of status, and that means you wouldn't qualify to change your status here. Well, if you maintain legal status, then you can do an adjustment of status. However, it's very rare. Usually what I do see is individuals coming in with their visitor's visa. You cannot go, the process is just too long to be able to change your status from a visitor's visa over to a green card. It's very unlikely that you'll be able to maintain the status for that long. So can you please tell me how long it takes to get biometrics after receiving a notice on 485? So one thing, Jay, that I want to tell you is that it really depends on where your area, the service center. But the average time right now that I'm seeing is about 3 to 4 months after you've applied. It didn't used to be that way. It used to be 4 to 6 weeks afterwards. However, because of the backlog, COVID, internal processes at the USCIS, especially during the Trump administration, it basically ballooned to 4 months and sometimes even longer. What you can do is make sure you keep up on your case to make sure that they have not requested anything from you, that they haven't rejected your case, and so forth. Cashmane, if you go to the US on a visitor's visa, could I stay until my filing is through? Cashmane, it really depends. So I was going through, so for example, as the immediate relative of a US citizen, that means you're the spouse of a US citizen, the parent of a US citizen, or the son or daughter of a US citizen under 21 and unmarried. If there's a change of circumstances, you decide to stay, even if you fall out of status, you could go through the adjustment of status process. However, if you don't fall within that category, your relative is not mistreating you, then you must leave the country to complete the green card process. So, because, and if you don't, if you overstay and then fall out of status, you would definitely have to apply for what's called a waiver, because if you get to overstay over 180 days, what will happen is if you leave the country, you will be barred, meaning inadmissible, no more visa, no green card, not permissible to come back to the United States for a minimum of 3 years. So you want to make sure that before you make any decisions to stay and do the adjustment of status process, make sure that you can do that you qualify for adjustment of status. Because adjustment of status is only available for individuals who can maintain their legal status through the process, or they are the immediate relative of a US citizen, or they are a VAWA applicant, meaning they're being mistreated by certain US relatives, and so they qualify to stay in the United States and apply for the green card. Is it true that K1 visa for Ghana is almost impossible? So not necessarily. The K1, as far as I know, is available. The K1 is a fiancé visa, and it is available worldwide. So unless there is an issue where there's an issue in Ghana, for example, where the fiancés are unable to see each other and prove that they're physically met, then in that case there could be a problem. So Jay, it's Vermont. So Jay, if you go to the uscis.gov website and you go to the Vermont Service Center, you will be able to see how long they're taking to process those biometrics appointments. I think that's what you asked. What's the cost of adjustment of status in NYC? So it's not necessarily the cost in New York. I don't know if you're talking about attorneys, but federally, across the nation, they just have one fee. If you go to uscis.gov, you will find the adjustment of status costs. It's $1,225. That is for adults. So $1,225. That's going to include the biometrics as well as the adjustment of status application. Keep in mind that there may be other applications where you have to pay the fee, but it depends on what type of adjustment of status process you're going through. Can I visit my cousin's brother who lives in the USA? If yes, how long will it take to get the visitor's visa? So you can definitely apply for the visitor's visa. And if you do get, there's nothing that says that you can't visit your cousin's brother. But what's important here, Yasir, is do you qualify for the visitor's visa? You usually have to show strong ties to your home country to be able to get that visitor's visa. What that means is, can you prove such strong commitments to your country that the officer evaluating your application will be convinced that you will return after a temporary trip to the United States? So basically, some evidence to show that would be Do you have property? Do you have a long-standing job? Do you have commitments like school? Or do you have strong family ties? That would definitely help the officer or convince the officer. Can a nephew who is a citizen and a doctor sponsor his aunt? Unfortunately not. Jay, you are welcome. And if you need further assistance, you know where to find me. You can call by going to the link in my bio, or where you will see the contact information, the contact form, and so forth. What's the attorney's fee and the cost for K1 visa? How do I contact you? So DD, I don't talk about my fees just because everybody's case is different, and the work that's required really depends on the facts in your case, what's involved. Some cases are not straightforward. Some require more effort. So in the case that you would like to find out eventually what my fees are, if you'd like representation, the way to start is through the consultation. The consultation is $150. And for $150, you really get to, interview me, and I get to interview you, and I get to advise you at the same time. So you don't walk out with no value at all. You walk out knowing what you qualify for, what are your chances, what is the game plan, how should you be approaching the situation. You may learn new benefits that you qualify for. So you can call me at 561-405-4889 if you'd like to go ahead and schedule. So my mother-in-law is a resident in the U.S. My husband petitioned for her. Can she apply for her children? If so, how long will it take? So if your husband is a U.S. citizen and he files for your mother, she is the immediate relative of a U.S. citizen, and that means that she doesn't qualify to bring her children along. She would have to first get her permanent residence and then apply for the children, or if the children qualify for the green card in another way, then they would have to pursue that. I know it's a big hole in the law. If your husband is a green card holder, he would not be able to petition for her. Yasser Ali, you're welcome. I don't see a link in your bio. So DD7791, there should be a link there. So if you look on the home page, on my home profile page, you should see there's a few words there and some fingers pointing downwards. That's the link. Otherwise, I'll have to check when I finish this live to see if the link is there. If it's not there, then I will definitely put it up. It is expensive for my employers to sponsor me a green card as an OPT student. So, it really depends on what is the employer willing to invest. Is the employer willing to invest to get you to be their permanent employee as a green card holder? So it can cost a pretty penny to go through this process, especially with the cost of attorneys to represent the employer. But some employers are willing to make that investment. DD7791, you're welcome. So he is a citizen and she is a permanent resident. So if she's already a permanent resident, then she could go ahead and apply for her children. So yes, she can apply for her children. Completed DOS processing. Now keep in mind that when I say children, they have to be, she can apply for children who are over 21. She can apply for children who are under 21 and unmarried. If they're under 21 and unmarried, the process moves faster than if they're over 21, and they cannot be, now I don't know if I should have said unmarried. So unmarried. In both cases, the children cannot be married for them to qualify through her as a green card holder. Completed DOS processing since November 2020 per DOS. They are waiting on an interview date from JA. And then Corey, I don't see the rest of it. So Sylvia, you're welcome. Is it true Jamaica consulate is not processing interview until next year? So it depends on how backlogged they are. That could be a possibility, just because they are scheduling interviews, trying to catch up on the backlog. However, I cannot confirm that for you. What you can do is you can check on the status of your case. You can even contact them directly and see if they're willing to provide you a timeline that you should be waiting on. But yes, it is, interviews are taking long. So, you know, I have heard of interviews even being canceled and rescheduled a whole year later. What's the process if you get married to a green card holder? I have son that almost 18 years, but not his. So if you get married to a green card holder and you are in the United States without status, then you're going to likely have to go through the waiver process if you've overstayed over 180 days. What the waiver is, it basically allows you to leave the United States without facing the severe immigration consequences from the overstay. Because if you overstay by 180 days and then leave the United States, you are barred automatically for 3 years. That means no green card, no visa, no being allowed to come to the United States unless you get approved for a waiver. But this waiver allows you to stay in the United States and apply for the waiver before you leave. If you get approved and then you leave the country for the interview, you can leave right before your interview. You will not be penalized based on that overstay. So let me keep going. So thank you, Warrell Brown, for the follow. I appreciate that. And Raf Bal 7, thanks for the follow. So keep your questions coming. So Raf Bal, which form do I need to apply for my brother and how long does the process take? So generally speaking, when a sibling, any relatives are applying for their relative to get their green card, this is going to be the I-130, but it depends on the process, because there are other forms that may be required. I don't really get into the specifics of the forms just because I don't think it's fair to you to give you that general information when you might need specific information, and I don't want to give you information that will make you pull the wrong form. But keep in mind that the process, the minimum is 14 years right now for siblings, U.S. citizen siblings, to sponsor siblings for the green card. So, hey there, I have a major problem. I need your help, Warrell Brown. Go ahead, give me a call. Now, the link is in my bio. I also have my phone number listed all over my website, my page with the videos. So you can either click on the link in my bio, which will take you to my website, or you can look at any one of my videos. You'll see the number. My phone lines are open 24/7. Now it's after hours. It's the nighttime, of course. So what that means is that you'll get an after hours receptionist who will then will take your information, and then a scheduling coordinator will get back to you tomorrow morning. If you call now, or if you call on after hours, they'll call you the next business day. If you left before the waiver, can it be applied after? So no, Kershaw, I can't stress enough. If you end up leaving before the waiver, then you'll be automatically inadmissible for years, and you'll have to wait out the processing time of the waiver, which the waiver processing time alone could be up to 2 years. You'll have to wait for that process outside of the United States. Now, one of the benefits of applying for that waiver while you're in the United States, if you've overstayed by 180 days, of course, is that you get to stay in the United States and to see if it will be approved. If it's not approved, then guess what? That buys you the time and not necessarily the luxury, but the time and to stay in the United States and try to figure out a different solution or a different option. If it's approved, you get to wait until your interview and then head down to the interview for in your home country without facing those consequences. Can't stress enough, so important to get legal advice when you are looking at options to fix your status, because you don't want to make any mistakes. You don't want to be doing anything on your own that will cause you to experience Is there any other way if you left? So Kersha, Bear, schedule a consultation, and then we can go through your particular circumstances to see. Now, if you left and now you would have to wait out the time. So the only other way really, just if your only immigration violation was overstaying and you left the United States and you had that bar placed on you, you'd have to either wait until the time goes out or apply for that waiver and wait for that waiver to be approved. So keep your questions coming. I am here to answer your questions. I have also been talking about how to fix your status. So I talked about 2 ways. Now these 2 ways, Kersha Bear, you're welcome. These 2 ways are if you are in the United States and you want to stay, but you've overstayed your visa, or you've overstayed your visa, or you came in without permission. Now, one way is if you're the immediate relative of a U.S. citizen and you came into the country with a visa. Even if you overstayed the visa, you could still and likely could qualify to adjust status in the United States. That means to apply for the green card while you're in the United States. Now, another way is if you have a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident spouse, a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident parent if you're under 25, a U.S. citizen son or daughter who's 21 and up, and those relatives mistreated you, then there is a path where you can apply for the green card while staying in the United States. In this case, even if you cross the border without permission, even if you overstayed your visa, this could also be a way to stay in the United States and apply for your green card. Now, if you don't qualify for any of these, that's the next step that I wanted to talk to you about. And Kersha Bear, introduced this topic. And so it is, if you are here, your relative is, so you're here out of status. Hi there, Theodore. Can brother file for you? Yes, a U.S. citizen brother can file for you, but keep in mind that this is not a quick, easy process. It takes a minimum of 14 years right now. So can he apply for my son since he almost 18 years? I don't plan to overstay my time. So Carlene, your green card holder spouse would be able to apply for you. And if you got married before, now there are 2 ways to approach this. And the easiest way is he would not automatically, you'd have to include him on your application. But as long as your 18-year-old is under 21 and unmarried, he would qualify to go along with you as the child of the spouse of a green card holder. Now, if your green card holder spouse could also sponsor your 18-year-old as a stepchild because you got married before they turned 18. So 2 ways, but you could include him in your application as the spouse of a green card holder. Now, if your spouse turned to a U.S. citizen, this is where it may be better to apply for your 18-year-old individually, because if your green card holder spouse turned into a citizen, you would no longer qualify to take your son along with you. He would have to file a separate petition for your son. So in a case like that, if your spouse is about to turn into a U.S. citizen or will soon be a U.S. citizen and you'll soon be the spouse of a U.S. citizen, then nobody would be able to go along with you. Your children would not be able to go along with you. But since you got married before your son turned 18, your son qualifies as a stepchild of a green card holder. The stepchild, if your green card holder spouse turns to a U.S. citizen, your child, as long as they remain under 21, would qualify as the immediate relative, stepchild of a U.S. citizen. So there are different ways to approach this. Just depends on which direction your green card holder spouse goes in. Tug 1981, I received my interview date and they did not request any affidavit of support. This is through marriage. So Tug 1981, super important for you to take the affidavit of support with you. Make sure that the affidavit of support remains valid. So make sure you bring an updated version. If there are any changes, make sure you bring your tax return, the most recent tax return. So the 2020 tax return with you. Even though they didn't request it, make sure that you have your updated records to show if you didn't already upload the recent tax returns, because sometimes they do ask for those updated copies at the interview. You want to make sure you're ready. Now, keep in mind that this is general information. It's not personal legal advice, Tug, but it is definitely a tip that you could make sure you follow through on. My aunt is a green card holder and only stayed, let's see. Let's see. I'm trying to track those questions. Okay, so my aunt is a green card holder. My aunt is a green card holder and only stayed for 6 months and is now back in Jamaica, 3 years now. The problem with that, can she go back to the US? The problem with this is that if she tries to enter the United States, she might be turned back, or her permanent residence might be revoked, or she may be sent to immigration court in order for that to happen. It's very important. Now, there is what's called the SB1 visa that does, if your aunt didn't intend to go back for 3 years, something happened that could justify her being gone so long, and she can show that she continued to maintain her connections in the United States, she could possibly qualify for what's called an SB1 returning resident visa. But she would have to meet certain requirements. You can always give her my information to contact me and schedule a consultation. We can talk more. Can someone apply for my green card from their father who is a green card holder? So no, it has to be your father. And in the case that they're a green card holder, you would have to be unmarried and either over 21 or under 21. Tug, you are welcome. So if he applied for us, can we still travel on our visa until we get through? So that's my least favorite question. And that's just because it could go either way. So sometimes they do give you a problem coming in and out because now you have a green card application that's pending. And so it shows immigrant intent. And if you're traveling in on a temporary visa, then they would be concerned about the fact that it contradicts the visitor's visa. I have seen both situations where some individuals get turned back, and I've seen others where they travel back and forth with no issue. So you have to understand that with traveling while your green card process is going through, especially if it's close to the interview, is a risk. And so it's a small risk, but there is still a risk. Hello, I'm currently in Jamaica. I have an American passport, but I've never traveled to the US. Warrell Brown. So you have an American passport, but you've never traveled to the US. So if you have an American passport, that means you're a United States citizen. And so you would be entitled as an American citizen to travel into the United States at any time that you would like. But please let me know if you are having other issues with that. Okay, Kashmeen, you're welcome. Theodore, so it is your father. Your father would be able to apply for you as a green card holder if you're over, I don't know if you're over 21 or under 21, but either way, you just have to be unmarried. What do I need to do? So Warrell Brown, if you have your US citizen, you are a US citizen, you have your US passport, then it would just be a matter of, you wouldn't need a visa or anything of that sort because you're a US citizen. You just have to make sure that you have all the evidence that you are a U.S. citizen, and as long as you have a valid U.S. passport, then you would just buy your ticket and come to the United States. But if if it's a matter of you don't have anywhere to stay or something of that sort, then that's a different issue. But the process of traveling is pretty easy for a U.S. citizen, as long as you have all the documents you need to prove that you're a U.S. citizen, which usually a passport is sufficient. How long does it take if my dad is a green card holder, if I'm over 21? So it's taking about 5 to 6 years. Do I need an unconditional stamp? So, okay, so well, I get it. So you are in Jamaica, so you want to see if you can get an unconditional stay stamp. Now, that's a Jamaican immigration issue, but I believe if you are living in the United States, for example, for me as a child, I grew up in Jamaica, but I was born in the United States. And yes, I had to have a stamp. While I'm not giving you any Jamaican immigration legal advice, because I'm not a Jamaican immigration attorney, I do know that you cannot just be in Jamaica without permission. It's similar to being in the US. You have to have some sort of status. So right now, if you don't have your stamp, your Jamaican unconditional resident stamp, then you are probably undocumented in Jamaica. And so there is a particular place that you can go and get the stamp. Since you've been in Jamaica for so long, you may have to pay penalties. But and I don't know, Warrell, how old you are, but I'm assuming that since you've never been to the US, that and now keep in mind, Warrell Brown, another thing is if you're a dual citizen, so are you a Jamaican citizen? So there are so many things here that you'd have to look at, but you'd have to speak with a Jamaican attorney or someone who is experienced in Jamaican immigration law. I have 3 kids on the form. Does one affidavit of support work? All I need for all. So Tug 1981, when it comes on to forms and the details of the forms, I don't provide any specific advice here because I don't know what your situation is. And so I would have to advise your sponsor, the person who's signing the affidavit of support, to be, if you're not the sponsor, I'd have to talk to the sponsor to provide legal advice. And as for even completing forms and consultations, I don't even do that because if I'm not the attorney on the record, I don't want to be sitting down in a consultation, filling out, helping someone to fill out a form that I don't know what will happen to that form. It's a liability issue. So I don't advise unless I'm actually the attorney completing that affidavit of support. Because the affidavit of support, you're basically knee deep in the process. And by that point, when I'm completing an affidavit of support, I know my clients, I know their situation, I know their details. And at that point, we're about a year or more into the process. So it's really a part of my representation. May a deportee to come back into the USA, even if they are classified as an aggravated felon. So if you do have an aggravated felon, then unfortunately, there are no waivers available to come back to the United States, generally speaking. Theodore, if you're married, then you wouldn't qualify through your green card holder parent. Are you overstay the 180 days and wait the 10-year bar, you can still be denied a visa. Yes. So Kershaw Bear, the visa is discretionary, and so if you know what that can indicate to the officer is that if you've previously overstayed, even if you wait out that 10-year bar, that you are at a risk for overstaying again. So you think it's better to stay here or go back and wait. So Carlene, it depends. Carlina, I would not be able to advise you here, What I do in my consultations, I go through details with the person I'm speaking with in the consultation, and then based on what I'm hearing, I can advise on a strategy going forward, whether it's better to stay or whether you must go. So how does it work if I'm married and dad is a green card holder? Then you would not be able to qualify, Theodore. Your father would not be able to sponsor you. Tuk 1981, thanks for understanding. Warrell Brown, so you're currently 17. So just make sure you have to check on the Jamaican immigration side. Theodore 1, you are welcome. So thank you everyone for asking me such great questions. And Carlina, definitely, this is one of the areas that I focus on. And for all the individuals that have had the same issue of trying to decide which way to go, if it's even permissible for you to stay or go. Now, Carlina, I think it was you that said your spouse is a green card holder. So what I do want to let you know, though, is that as the spouse of a green card holder, you would not be able to overstay your visa and apply for the green card. Just to let you know that in cases like that, you'd be looking at a possible waiver, and it just gets a lot more complicated. Hi there, Simone Wands. Nice to see you. Trinidadian with B1, B2 visa. What's the process to come to the US and then start filing? So Chrissy Tal, you'd have to qualify through an employer, through a family member. And you definitely, on a B1, B2, you wouldn't be able to just come and stay. That could actually put you in more problems unless you qualify for an exception. So for example, if you're the immediate relative of a US citizen, then, and you, by immediate relative of a US citizen, I mean that you are the spouse of a US citizen, the parent of a US citizen who's 21 and up, or you are the son or daughter of a US citizen who is you're under 21 and unmarried. Now, if you don't fall within that category, then it's very unlikely that you'll be able to stay here on a B1, B2 visa and apply for the green card at the same time. Theodore 1, thank you for that compliment. I appreciate it. I'm very passionate about this area of law, and so that is why I'm good at what I do. Can I travel in America while my paperwork is in process? You may be able to. There is a small risk that an officer will see you as having immigrant intent while you're traveling on a visa. So you just have to be careful. Make sure you're honest with the officer coming in. Make sure you make it clear to the officer that you do plan to return. Can you change status from J1 to H visa? It may be possible, but it depends on what type of J1 visa you have. What is the requirement of work permit program? So Theodore 1, it depends on what type of work visa you're applying for. It depends on your employer and the type, what your qualifications are, and whether those two, the needs of the employer and your qualifications can fit within a visa category. I live in Guyana and need a visa to come to the US. So it sounds like the visitor's visa would be for you. You'd have to show strong ties to your home country to be able to qualify for a visitor's visa. What that means is that you can show such strong commitments to your country that the officer will be convinced that you'll return to your home country after a temporary visit to the United States. That could be by showing you have a long-standing job, you have a business, you have property, you have a mortgage, you have strong family ties. So thank you everyone once again for your questions. I am here every single day with very few exceptions to answer your questions. So I will be back tomorrow. This is not the end of it. All you have to do is follow me, and as soon as you see me go live, hop on and just start throwing those questions in, because I am here to answer your immigration questions. That's the main reason why I am here. So don't hesitate. It can be anything that's immigration related, even if it doesn't, even if it's not, related to the topic I'm talking about. Theodore 1, I really do think I need a specific time. I would say between 8 and 10 are the times I come on. Sometimes my days, there are some days that are just really busy and crazy. And so what I do is I end my work day with you. So yes, 9 p.m. is the end of my work day. So it's around between 8 and 9. So what you can do though is follow me. And as soon as I go live, you should get notice that I've gone live. So have a good night, everyone. Thanks for asking your questions, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.